on my way to drop out of college when I got a text from a girl named Joanna in my psychology class. She said there was a new lab in town offering $20,000 to people to volunteer for some medical experiment. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You see, I didn't want to drop out. I just couldn't afford it. I'd flunked a few tests and my parents had stopped paying my tuition. Well, I'd show them. I'd sign up for this experiment and get my cash. When we pulled up at the address, it didn't look like a hospital. It looked creepy. Inside, everything was blindingly white. A man in a lab coat handed us basic forms that only really asked for bank details. I needed the money badly, so I signed. Joanna went to the bathroom, but the man insisted we start without her. As he led me away, I heard what sounded like Joanna's voice panicking behind a wall of one-way glass. My gut screamed no, but the man told me to ignore it, claiming a technician had just hurt her hand. He took me to a relaxing room with beanbags and tea. He explained the experiment. They were studying how to store and implant memories to help Alzheimer's patients. He said they needed young brains. The younger, the better. I felt a bit better until he led me into the next room, which was filled with wires and cold medical machines. The man started attaching wires to my head. He told me he'd ask questions to record my brainwaves and that I'd have to come back in a month to see if anything changed. When I realized it wasn't a one-off thing, he just smirked and told me to read the fine print. Then he hooked me up. It hurt. I felt like my brain was being squashed. He asked me about the saddest thing to ever happen to me. I described in detail the car crash that killed my little sister and how my family was never the same. He asked for my happiest memory, and I told him about the day Damien asked me to be his girlfriend. After that, everything went fuzzy. I woke up on a sofa, and the man told me I could go home. He promised the first half of the money would be in my account by the end of the week. I left, but Joanna was gone. I walked 50 meters and suddenly didn't know where I was going. A massive headache hit me. The next day at college, I saw Joanna flirting with Damien. I was furious. But she seemed out of it. She started crying, saying she missed her sister so much and that life was sad without her. I felt bad, but I was confused. I was an only child, so I didn't know what that felt like. Then I got a text from my mom asking me to buy flowers for Amy's grave. I had no idea who Amy was. My head felt like it was exploding. I passed out in psychology class, and when I woke up, Joanna suggested we go back to the lab. When we arrived, the doors were locked. We managed to slip inside through a side door and found ourselves in a glass maze. Then, I heard voices. One man was saying, "The memories aren't on the database." I messed up, man. The lead scientist caught us and threatened to call the police for trespassing. I demanded my money, but he just kicked us out. Things got worse at home. My mom was furious because I forgot the flowers for my sister. I told her I didn't have a sister, and she looked at me like I was a monster. She kicked me out of the car, shouting that she'd go to the graveyard herself. I met Joanna at the cemetery. She was sitting by a grave with tulips, the same flowers my mom always bought. I looked at the headstone. The name was Amy, but the surname wasn't Joanna's. It was mine. Just then, Damien called me. He said Joanna had been texting him, acting like his girlfriend. I told him she was his girlfriend and hung up, my head spinning. I went home and saw a family photo on the wall. It was me, my parents, and another girl, Amy. Why couldn't I remember her? The truth hit me like a physical blow. The lab hadn't been storing memories. They had accidentally swapped them. They had taken my memories of my sister and my boyfriend and planted them into Joanna. I called the police, but when they arrived at the lab, it had been burned to the ground. There were no records, no money, and no sign of the scientists. Joanna and I were taken to the station. It turns out she hadn't been asked questions. She had just been hooked up to the machine and felt her head change. She now carries the crushing grief of a sister she never actually had. And I am left looking at photos of a sister I can't remember. I feel like they stole a piece of my soul. The police are still investigating, but the lab is gone. Damien is back with me now that Joanna understands the memories weren't hers, but our lives are ruined. Joanna is tortured by a fake tragedy, and I am haunted by a void where my childhood should be. I wanted $20,000 to save my education, but I ended up losing my identity. I fear my life has been changed forever. How could I have been so stupid?
Look closely, Anna. This is Leela right here.
Doesn't this memory feel real?
Leela.
I remember now.